So, thanks for joining us today, guys. I feel really, really lucky to get to host one of these C5 events with my friends Tay and Fox. And many thanks to Anya for putting this together. I know the hype right now for All Stars. So, I want to congratulate everyone who's made it this far. And for anybody that got into prelims, congratulations. That is a huge accomplishment. So let's dive into the topic of the 4K buffs because I'm sure many of us experience getting rallied by these monsters. So whether you aspire to build to these stats or if you're just very curious and want to live vicariously like me, uh, let's talk to Fox and Tay. So Tay is from 580 and VAL. He led two challenge championships and he, I think, was the first one to get 4K buffs. And then we have Fox, who notoriously runs the BK account in NFG, and he was the All Star champion last round. So we're going to keep this topic focused to just the 4K buffs. We're not going to get into debuffs so that we can, stay focused on trying to get there. And we're just going to start it out with what buffs have the most impact. And I'm just going to hand it off to Fox and Tay. Okay, so let's just start with the most efficient, crucial, foundational buffs that you can get. Like, what are the biggest buffs that you can start off with, I think?
I think honestly the biggest one is just making sure that you're sticking with that general, fully cultivated general, getting especially the new buffs with the times 100 cultivation that they just added. People are sharing it in that chat on how high you can get. That's an extra 30%. But I do think that just overall general composition and choosing the correct combo is probably about at least 40% of the initial buff outside of MA. Um, is just keeping up with the most recent gens, especially. I wouldn't say you need the exact newest one, but probably within the at least 6 months, keeping up, at least since Douglas came out. I really think that these gens just there's such a big power creep compared to when we initially started with Simeon and stuff. So these people who run like in our alliance, we have people running Simeon or Alfred, and they're just probably 100% buffs behind the new ones as far as range attack or these other buffs. Um, what do you think, Tay, about that one? I think that's just the
I
biggest one.
agree. The general creep has been pretty strong. Also, amplification of Civ gear has definitely changed the game there. Refines were always kind of critical, but I mean, a purple refine versus a gold refine is only a couple percent. But the new advanced refines adds quite a bit of hidden buffs. Plus the like you said, the generals as well is pretty significant. And I want to be clear with everyone, like it's in my opinion, it's not critical that you always just get whichever one is the first to be released. The next newest. That's kind of always the expectation. Is oh, there's a new general. I need to go out and absolutely get that one, and that's not necessarily the case. Now, I do think the covenants that Fox was bringing up though are absolutely critical as far as driving performance there.
Definitely agree with you there. I mean, these new gens, especially with the covenants, I honestly think you got to just stay within the past 8 months or so, 6 months or so of just the new gens because there's all these new features that they add, and they're slowly adding them to other gens, but it really is staying to the new ones. And I don't know if they'll ever bring back to these. And then I think on top of this, I think almost every 4K buff or every 4K buff keep I see, they're gonna have the Civ Treasure 6, which has 46% all buffs on that first Excalibur, for example. And it's just massive buffs if you have all of them unlocked, which so I think that's pretty much where most people are with 4K is they're gonna have those level 6 Civ treasures or art treasures, and they're gonna have probably at least level 7 Civ treasures typically. There's so much buff nowadays. It's like I think you can get up. I think I've seen 4,700. Um, but realistically, you can um lose that 700%, still get that 4K just by making sure you're getting where you can. And I think that's another important thing to factor in is there's so many buffs everywhere. I don't know if people were here when Hid was or were in the call earlier today where Hid's mentioned this, where they just had people looking through every place they could get for buffs, and they found 400%. And so I think that's just something to consider as well. It's just there's buffs everywhere, but then the big things obviously are the MA because there's massive researchers such as the defense and rally ones, which are like 40% per tech. The Civ treasures, art treasures, the advanced refines, obviously. Blazons are massive. That's a whole nother refine set. And every big keep I know, at least they usually have a offensive and a defensive one, or they do a mix. BK's only done a mix, but he just has a bunch kind of sitting in his thing. We never made another set for him, but he has like all marching range attack, for example, and that's 8 refines of, I don't know the exact amount. Let's see. It's about 15 to 20% on each one, and that's just massive when you include that in everything else as well.
Yeah, and the dragon talents, now that they've pushed those to 100, having those dragons capped at 15 with 100 dragon level talent, I mean, you're talking plus 70 attack by just having a talent at 100. I mean, that right there, is pretty huge as well.
It's honestly even more than that. If you look at the Aladdin, for example,
Correct.
It's 70% range attack for the first talent alone, another 56% there at level 100. And then, if you get these other ones leveled up as well, that's just massive boost. BK doesn't have all of them up to 100 yet, but his Aladdin is completely maxed out, for example.
Do you think it would help if I jump into my keep and we can, just as we're talking about this stuff, actually visually show what we're talking about?
That'd be great, I think. MA is also another massive buff. I'm talking like probably about the other 30%. I mean, you have your like general who's gonna be like 40% maybe, or at least 30, and then you have this one at 30% as well. So I mean, you're talking 60% right there, and then you have buffs that are just scattered in different types everywhere else. Senate's also a great thing, just because they also have these like individual level attributes where you can upgrade the position level. For example, in the I don't think I have it unlocked yet, but in one of these they have a range attack in rally, which is absolutely insane because I think you get that up to at least 70%, maybe even higher. And that's just another massive boost that can get you probably up to where Hippo is, or Hypo, whatever it says, at 4,700. And we can see your keep now.
Okay, cool. All right. All right. So what were we talking about? So what do you want to talk about first? And I'll bring it up for everyone.
I think maybe we could go to the Senate first, just because that's your Senate's awesome.
I mean, my Senate's still a work in progress, and you guys will see. I don't immediately. So I've got the ability to go from Senate 4 to 5. It's 12,000 of these, whatever these seals are, and it's. I mean, it's a huge pain in the ass to acquire that many. So I try before I just immediately just jump into making that change. I always want to do research just to make sure. I mean, because it's very easy with Evony because of their lack of communication to make a mistake. And when we're running with some of the cost with some of these things, it could be a pretty big financial hit when you level the wrong thing. So but the buffs in here honestly are huge. Like once you get down here to the new one, the honorary senator, which I think was based off of BOC wins and stuff. When you go into your position levels here, I mean, you're looking right here in rally siege attack, and I didn't buff some of these so I could just kind of show everyone the impact here. But I mean, in rally ground HP, I mean, all of these are literally just pop in, and so we'll upgrade to the next tier here, and so we're getting 4% siege attack by literally each upgrade. So
along with those ones at level 15, 20.
Correct. Exactly.
Which, I mean,
So
those are little, but everything counts.
Yeah, every little thing. So I literally just went from 20% to 40% in 3 seconds. So people just not quite. I mean, so we'll take it to 15 just so that we can look at the impact here.
Obviously, it costs more to get through those like level things, so.
Absolutely, but we just picked up 40% in rally siege attack, and I don't really solo anything ever. So I mean, just to kind of give you a record of what my siege buff was before. We're gonna pull up a buff real quick from a BSC. So this is what my siege attack was before, 4151. So I mean, we just picked up another 40-something% with. I mean, so now we're sitting at 4191, and that's without running Civ Monarch gear or without running Siege Monarch gear. So you'd be surprised just the hidden buffs and how easy it is if once you start digging into it to add pretty quickly.
I agree with you there. Those are pretty damn good defense buffs. BK is kind of slacks on his defense a little bit just so he gets hit in all stars. Part of the fun. I got zeroed yesterday, actually. It's like, oh, shit.
Oh, nice. No, that's always a blast.
Yeah, right? It's like, thank you. Sweet. I think another... Oh, sorry.
Go ahead. No, I was just going to say, don't sleep on the victory column as well here. Just because, we're already talking about generals. So VC10, we're going to get a 10% just basic attributes across the board. When we look at, I'm going to bring up a general here real quick. Actually, let's go ranking. So looking at ground general here. So fifth specialty isn't something we talked about either.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
I mean, so don't. I mean, just the impact of that. So we're gonna sit here. No, I didn't level this one fully to 100 because I kind of wanted to show what the impact there is. So this one is at 81, which means we just made it gold. And I mean, just looking at 81 alone, we're talking, plus 1,000 base attack, another 20%. Then we're sitting here, we're adding debuffs, then we're getting another. I mean, we'll talk about the ground troop with dragon in a minute as well. So I mean, we're sitting here without tweaking anything yet. Our attack is already at 1916 here with just how the general is right now. I mean, it definitely has a huge impact with making sure you're amplifying the gear, running the right generals. And then let me go into this general in more detail here, just to kind of, you were talking about Covenant. There we go. So when we look at his maxed out Covenant here, we're picking up 5%. Then we're picking up 10% defense, which we all know with ground's the hardest thing for them to get. Picking up another 15% ground rally attack, and then we're picking up another 10%. So, I mean, combined buffs from the Covenant on attack alone, we're picking up an extra 30%. Plus, don't sleep on this 5% March size capacity either.
And that's just the power creep. On top of, the 80% already in those main skills and specs of the new gens, kind of. You don't have to go the newest gen, of course. Just remember that, guys. It's the probably the past 3 or 4 that they release, really, that you can look at and make sure that they're better. Because it is a gradual increase as well, the power creep. And so, you go about like either equal or maybe they go up another 10%, 20%, except for these covenants, which add just about 30% extra across the board, or at least in some area.
Yeah, and they're really not, I mean, so from my experience, Fox, and you can correct me if you disagree, but pretty much you have to 10-star one of the generals and outside of the main general, and then to get the maximum covenant, and then you have to just enhance the other one as far as cultivating up to
I believe so.
Well, fuck it, I'll change my code after this.
I believe it's something like
safe
that.
Code.
Nice.
It's a very complicated safe code. So, whatever. Anyway, don't and no, my password to my account is not password, so just tossing that out there. But I mean, pretty much when you're looking at your stats here, you got to get them close to max. But as far as with each of the generals in the covenant line, that's not where I wanted to go. Sorry.
Thank you, EP.
Yeah, and then this one's fully ascended, and then the last one again.
Damn, bro, you're fully ascended everywhere.
I mean, not well. I mean, not the ones I don't have to, but yeah. So basically, you're gonna have to cultivate 2 of them, and you're gonna have to fully ascend 1 to get the maximum covenant of those.
Sounds like EMP says you could just get it without the red stars, even.
You
Or maybe
can, yeah,
maybe you can
yeah.
just
You can absolutely. It's just I'm lazy. I don't want to have to sit here and cultivate for like they didn't have 100 cultivate before, so doing that 10 bullshit the whole time was like agonizing. So I could, got to use the blood somewhere.
if you'd like, I can start sharing my screen as well. It
Yeah,
only
for
lets
sure.
one person.
Yeah, I'll
Um,
stop.
so let's go take a peek at BKs. Then you got Tay, who's holy, that man's maxed out to hell, right? Here's maybe something. There's areas obviously in this keep. Can we see it here? Does it show?
Yeah, now it's up.
Okay. So, obviously, here's the areas we were talking about with Civ Treasures. Obviously, maxed out. All the big keeps are going to have this. There's 35% in this one alone, for example, 52 in the defense and HP. That's a flat as well, just all troops. And then you got this one, 90% mounted troop attack right here. I mean, that.
Foxes, they're saying they can't see.
Oh, they can't? Okay.
No.
Oh,
It doesn't work. I can switch back over to mine and you can
great. I don't know how to fix it. I guess we'll just go back to yours then. That's unfortunate.
I'm sorry. Dude, trust me, I'd much rather show yours off than
Yeah, bro, it
mine.
was porn. Cherry, you caught me.
I get it. I mean, everybody's seen my Uber secret password here. So yeah, we're talking what, Civ Treasures? So where you want
Yeah,
to
so we are talking about Civ Treasure. I was looking at the egg, for example.
Okay.
Just the egg alone. There's 90% mounted troop and ground troop attack right there in level 8. And then 65 range attack. I mean, that's a big buff right there as well that every big keep's going to have. Maybe like 5 or 10% lower if they're level 7, which some keeps are. Like Luon, for example, I don't know if he's level 8. He's only VIP 22, so he might not have it, and he's also a 4K buffer. I think another area maybe is to go look at your historics or famous cities, whatever you have. I think a lot of the big keeps usually have all these as well. I'm sure you have probably one of the good ones, like Timbuktu, maybe. I think that one's a
When
good
you want to
one.
look at
Oh,
Paris,
this
Vienna,
maybe
like
one that has like range buff or something, for example.
that'd be Vienna. Vienna's got siege and range.
I mean, I believe
Or or if you want to go to one of the, I just went with that one because that's a newer
is
subsidy.
that yeah, that might be work. That might work. Is that a alliance one though, or is it a?
No, this one's got
Oh
this one's
yeah,
got a,
see,
yeah. So if you're looking
30%
at,
right there.
yeah, so you got 10% right here across all stats for siege and range. Then you've got attacking, siege and range, 20%. We're not really talking about debuffs. Ignore the last one because they always suck on these. But these historic spectacles also add impact. So I'm getting an extra 5% because I've got basically a 2-piece set bonus. And then I'm getting another 5% here. And then, debuff. And then we can continue to increase these as we want. So let me find one of the other ones that's.
And remember, guys, these are about like 50% each buff,
Yeah,
maybe. And
yeah,
it's all like specific, right? So this one's probably more range. At least that was a range buff, and
yeah,
each historic's different, and so you get a balance here. Remember that your gold Japans I think are 15 or 20%. I believe 15. And so that's still, if you have every single one, you're still going to get a decent average from your subs. And so you don't really need the historics. It's just another thing that you can just get extra from. Although
yeah.
I
And I
think
mean,
there's. Go
oh,
ahead.
sorry, go ahead. No, I was just gonna say, if you get that 12th subsidy slot, if you really want to whale it out, you know, an extra subsidy slot, people sleep on that. I mean, they're starting to. I mean, they were sleeping on it. Now they're definitely spending at a level that backs up the buff increase, but having
Oh,
that,
yeah.
an
What was
extra
it?
subsidy.
60%? I think it was like 60% at least.
Yeah,
Just
well, it depends on which. Yeah, I mean, you've got that plus depending on. Well, it would potentially be more than that when you start upgrading it as well, and then factor again. I know we're not talking about debuffs, but just having that extra debuff general on there is a great example as well.